Today, I want to talk about the misconception and the myth of the Hebrew women or giving birth like the Hebrew women. Now, most people like to claim, that scriptural verse or story and say, oh, I'll give birth like the Hebrew women. So, even when they have complications or health predispositions that require them to undergo a CS, probably because of baby weight or some other life threatening conditions, they will insist themselves, either the women themselves or their spouses or members of their families will reject CS, see it as evil, and say no, this woman is going to have her delivery like the Hebrew women. What actually is the history of this giving birth like the Hebrew women, as it were? It all starts from a story in scriptures where Pharaoh, a very authoritative, in fact authoritarian, and he was more like a dictator, had instructed midwives that any Israelite or Hebrew woman that gives birth to a son, that this boy child should be killed. Now, midwives, and they were classified or described as midwives that feared the Lord. So as a result of their fear for God, they didn't want to kill innocent children just because the king wanted it to be so. Now, what did they do? Probably from the science behind midwifery and childbirth, and probably for some reasons of guiding how children are born, they had to come up with an idea that when the king asks, they'll tell him that the women of Hebrew or the Israelite women are so swift in delivery that before the midwives even arrive, to help them in delivery, that they've already pushed their sons or their children have already come forth. So that's assumed that once the children come forth, obviously any mom who has this child, knowing that the king had given this decree, would not remain lying on that hospital bed. Let's assume there was a hospital then, the mother will most likely flee with her son for safety. So the king became worried that, oh, these women, how come they are so fast, in giving birth, that before the midwives arrive, they've already birthed their sons, and so we're not able to kill these sons. This was the strategy or the wisdom that these midwives used to ensure that they didn't partake of that wickedness of the king in killing these boys. So that's how people came up with the idea of giving birth like the Hebrew women. It was just wisdom that these women used to avoid not being victims or being perpetrators of the crime of Pharaoh at the time. So please, if you have a baby that is overweight or you have some issues, probably narrow pelvics and all other medical complications, and the doctor says do a CS, please do a CS. It doesn't reduce your anointing, doesn't make you less spiritual, neither does it make you a person of less faith, because medicine is an expression of God's wisdom, and I encourage us to take advantage